Hello guys, welcome back again. This is Suresh from Mr. Automation channel. Today in this Python Selenium series, we're going to discuss about how to work with CSS selectors in Selenium selectors. So far we have discussed about ID, name, class, tag, link text. So we have discussed all this, and this is the one of the most used selectors when compared to XPath and other selectors, and this is easy to implement, and there is a little trick in this, so I will show you all those in this session. So do watch this entire session so that you will understand how to use the CSS selector. So this is the syntax for CSS selector, so which is similar to XPath syntax. So we have a node here and attribute name and attribute value. So similarly in XPath also we use similar thing, but there is some extra uh, symbols we use in the syntax. So I will show that in the next session. So if you are new and you wanted to learn Selenium with Python and you need some requirements to be installed in your system, in case if you are watching this for the first time, so Python to be installed in your system and PyCharm editor and Selenium libraries we needed, driver executable files. And let me go to my PyCharm editor. So this is a PyCharm editor. We have created one project for this Selenium Python series for beginners, and where I have all the browsers here into one folder and test cases into another folder. So I'm gonna create another file or Python file, which is nothing but test cases CSS. And let me quickly start writing some code here. So from Selenium. So in case if you are working with Selenium in PyCharm, so we need to install Selenium libraries. So import WebDriver. And after importing that, we need to create browser initiation. So for that, I'm gonna reference one variable called driver for the WebDriver.chrome. And in this, I'm gonna provide executable path. So under executable path, I'm gonna provide my path, which is a Chrome browser path. So I need to go to the copy absolute path, and here I'm gonna paste this path. So as I'm on a Windows operating system, let me correct the path accordingly. Right. So after that, we need to create or we need to write one more statement called driver dot maximize window, and this will maximize my window. As soon as the browser launches, it will be a small window, so I can maximize that window with this command. Then we have driver dot get. So under get, we need to provide the application URL. So I'm gonna take the application URL as Facebook here. I will use this as an example because it has a clean UI. I mean, we have only few web elements over there. So we're gonna simply learn all them with this simple example. If I take a complex example, then you will be a bit confusing where I'm inspecting and where I'm showing all this tags, syntaxes and all this. So you will get confused. So for that reason, I have taken simple one. And in CSS selectors, we have different types of approaches. So as the CSS selector follows the character sequence pattern, which identifies the web element based on their HTML structure, and it is little tricky when compared to ID name, XPath, ID name, link text, because if you are not getting or not finding a path with that features or that locators, then you can use the CSS selector or XPath. So in the selectors, we're going to discuss about ID. So CSS selector with ID. ID as, I can simply say ID for now. And now, how we're going to identify CSS selector with ID. So I have shown you, right, the syntax. So syntax is nothing but here node and attribute name and attribute value. So let me put this here, syntax. So this is syntax for our CSS selector, right? Let me go to the web page, and in this web page I'm gonna inspect this input field called email. So as soon as I inspect, it is a form of input, which is an input node and which is of color of pink color. So if you see the color quotation or notation, it's saying that pink, and we have a attribute name in the orange color and attribute value in the blue color. So this is an easy way to remember it. So you will find the similar things in any browser. So you will see this kind of coloring codings over there. So you can represent or make you remember that this is the earth node and this is the type which is in red color. It is of attribute name and attribute value as text. So I'm going to simply take this input and try to put here input, and this is having more attribute names. So I'm going to simply take this ID. So for that you can use hash ID which is pointing to the email, right? So I'm going to take directly email. So attribute value we need to take when you put the hash. Hash represents the ID. So as soon as we put the node, then hash email. So I will put this here. So this is the one selector with ID. So which is nothing but a method one in it. So I'm say OD method one. So this is little lengthy, but if you understand this entire session, so you will become a master in identifying the locators. For sure, if you watch this from the starting to end, you will become a master in the say selector. So this is a method one, and this is method two. So in method two, how we need to identify. So method two is simple. So I will select this. So I will take the same input tag, and under input tag, I'm going to provide at the rate ID. We need to put only ID, not at the rate. So ID equal to, so what is the ID value? So it's an email. So this is one way of finding the selector. So you can put this here. So you can use either of the approaches. You can use a method one or method two. So both will work fine. So I'm going to simply call driver dot find element, and I can use by. So by I need to import by Selenium Commons dot say selector, and here I need to provide the value dot. It's an input type, so I can take send keys. Under send keys, I can provide abc at the rate 123.com. So this is a simple one, right? So let me quickly run so that you will know whether this path is running or not. So let me quickly run the program. So it is started. You can see the logs coming here. Think it is saying some error. So we have deprecated method of executable files. So I think I need to remove this line from here. Let me rerun. I think it has opened the browser, but immediately it has closed. So one issue it might be because of the browser version which I'm using. So currently I'm using, let me go to help, let me go to about. So I'm using 104.511. So this is an up-to-date version, but let me see. So once you type the Chrome driver downloads, then you can open the page, this page. So I'm using 104 version. So this is 104. Let me download that and let me put that into my project. So I will fast forward from here. Right, I have updated the driver file. Let me rerun the program. So it has started. So reason why it has failed due to the incompatibility of the driver file which I have taken. So now it is working fine. So it has typed the email address with respect to the CSS selector which I have selected. Right, this is a working. So Now we're gonna use some other approach. So I'm gonna take this CSS selector with class. So I can take CSS selector with class. So let me go back to the page. So let me go back to this page. So here you can see we have a class here. The class is representing with a name. So I can take simply input node and input node followed by class, right? So I can inspect this. So you can see here class with value here. So I can copy the class value and with the input, I'm going to put dot operator here. Dot, I'm going to paste this. So here it is little tricky to understand how many class references we have. So we have to try to keep the unique one. So let me remove a couple of the class references. So it's a one, two, and we have one more. So this has to find input class. So it is not finding with this. So I will take the last reference one. So this one, only one. So I'm gonna remove. So you can see it is finding right now. So it has and many references. So I can use only one references from out of that. So I can copy this and put into the program. So again, this is the method one. So method one of class is using dot operator. Now there is one more way you can use this class as. So I can remove that. You can use the square braces. So here you can keep class equals and you can put the same value there. So here it is not getting the accurate one. So I will again copy all the references. So it's a class. So I'm gonna put all the values. So now it is finding. So this is another way of keeping the class value references. So you can keep the method 2 as this. So with all the references. So now I can comment this line and I will execute another one, driver dot find element. So under that, by dot CSS selector, I can put the value here and dot send keys. Under that send keys, I will say abc @1234.com. So let me put this line. Let me put this line in the ID section so that it will be clear for you, right? So I'm gonna simply write one more line here after executing driver dot close, right? Save, run. So I think it is executed and it has performed. Let me put some wait time here. So run. Right, it has performed and you can see the value is typed there. So this is another way approach of using class, right? Now I'm gonna take one more method using the combinations. So you can use a combination of both approaches. So I have used method 1 and method 2, right? You can use them in a combination. So method 1 and method 2 can be combined and you can generate one more path. So I'm gonna simply comment this line. So let me use one more comment line here. This line will be, this line is called CSS selector with combinations, right? And let me put one more comment here. Now I will go back to the browser page. Now For the same input field, you can remove all the elements and you can keep only input, and you can try to inspect one more time and you will find ID of name, email. So you can use that as an hash and you can provide that. And in addition to that, if it is finding more than one or you have multiple IDs and you will get confused, so you can use couple of more under it. So now I can take this autocomplete. So I will take this autocomplete of the node input and I will put here and then equal to. So what is it? Autocomplete has username. So you can put the username. So this is also one more approach, which is called as a combination approach. So you can use this as your path. So you can go back to your PyCharm and put here. And again, I will try to show you how it will find it. So I'm going to showing you how to find it and how to execute it. So both way we are covering both the approaches by dot CSS selector, right, dot send keys. So here I'm going to provide something like this. Save and quickly run this. It has opened the browser. Now you can see the value will be printed on the input field. So whatever value I have taken, that value will be printed over there, right? It is performed, right? This is another approach. Now you might be asking, after trying all these things, I have a finding difficulty or I couldn't find the C selector. So what are other approaches we have? So we have C selector with partially matching, or you can say that working with a string kind of approach. So you can do with the strings, C selector with strings. So this is string. So it's not something related to the Java or Python. So under C selector only we have approach called strings approach. So in that you have starting text of a string with cap symbol, right? So this cap symbol. So I will show you, this will be a little magic kind of approach. You will definitely love this approach. So go back to the browser. Now, after identifying this field, I have found a difficulty. So what difficulty you are facing? So you can go to your ID, and what is the ID is having email. So in some cases you have a dynamic IDs where half ID will be a constant and other half will be a frequently changing number. So that kind of IDs you cannot take. So for that, to get rid of that kind of things which is happening in your application, so you can do this approach called starting of the string. So to get the starting of the string, ID you need to put there and then followed by cap symbol, and then you need to provide equals and in a string format. So whatever ID is starting, so my ID is starting, the first four characters or five characters are constant throughout the application refreshes, so I can use that as an starting of the ID. So for that, EAM, so I'm using EMA, so which is starting of the ID. So I have provided partial ID and it is now working. So I can take this and I can go back to the browser and I can put this at the starting. So sometimes what happen, the starting of the node is also changing, but ending of the string ID is constant, but starting is changing. So for that, how you can change? So ending text of a string. So to find the ending text of a string, you can use this dollar symbol. So how you can take that? So go back to the browser again, and here I wanted to use a dollar symbol with the same kind of syntax. So I have a node, then ID, then dollar symbol, then ending of the email. So which is a starting, right? That will not work for this. So which is ending, then I need to take that. So ending of the ID will be AIL. So email, so last three characters are AIL. So which is matching one of one. So this is the one approach. So this is the one. So you have tried both, but you might be having some difficulties. So there is at some point at the middle or at the exactly before ending or before one character of ending, it is constant. Then such kind of situations, what I need to do. So for that, you have another approach which is called contains approach, contains text using star symbol. So contains one is, so go back to the browser and then you can use the same syntax, input ID, and instead of dollar you can use a star symbol, and then star symbol will find any matching characters in your ID value. So here it is matching to the same value. If I change MAI, then it will be matching. You can keep this EMAI, so still it matches. Even you can keep LIL, so it is having one of 8 matches. So you cannot use this. You can use one more character. So it is how it is finding. So you can put few more characters to get one of one as an locator. So this is a approach using a strings. So these are the three approaches you can use the strings. And let me put this one for quick execution. Find element by dot CSS the send keys. Under that send keys, you can time this value, a random value, and quickly run. So I'm gonna showing you one execution per one approach. So we have discussed three approaches. One is only ID, only class, then the combinations, then a string formats. So now, after trying this all these things and you are still finding a difficulty, so you still have a difficulty in finding the locators, then what I have to do? So you might be thinking what else I can try in the CSS selectors. So there is one more approach called parent-child relations you can use in the CSS selector. It might be one of the topic in XPath also. So that approach is different, and here this approach is different. So that is called parent-child approach. So in this approach, what I can do better. So you have find all these things, but still you are unable to find the locator. Then again, come back here. So now you can see I have diff here. So there will be little difficulty with the divs because we can find n number of divs. So I will try to locate one another element. So here I can see this plus button. I think this plus button is under anchor tag. I can use this one, I guess. So let me filter it. A. So A is a parent. So I need to go to the child. To go to the child, I need to use this angle symbol and I. Now it is saying one of two. Then you need to filter again. So to filter again, you can use this called class. There is a class here with I. So information icon I. So you can use this class equals to. So you have one, two, three, four, three references we have here. I can use one of them. So I can use image. I think image is not getting identified. So I will try to put all the values here. I think after putting all the values, it is getting located. So this is the one way of approach, parent-child relation approach. So I will go back to the PyCharm. So this is the one approach. Method one. And you have one more method in the same parent-child relation, method two. So method two approach is you might be having more than one, two, three, four. So likewise, you have different locators with exactly matching. So you have exactly matching, but you have to filter one of one. So for that, you have to use some indexing. So how you can use the indexing in your XPath, or I mean in the CSS selector. So go back to the web page. So the earlier one which we have used, right? So for the input, so I'm going to filter that. So here, let me see what else I can find here. So you have a form, then followed by these many. So here under form you have ID. So let me copy that ID, and here I can use a form. So form after that ID. So for ID I can use hash, or I can use directly ID and ID value. So I will put the ID value here, form and ID value. So it has to filter. Let me inspect it. So form and ID. Exactly, I have taken the correct value. Then followed by div. I think it's not finding. I think I used wrong letters here. So which is from. I need to use form. Right. I think now it is started identifying. Now I need to navigate to my email address wherever I have. So to go there, I can use the child relation here. So I'm in a parent called form. I need to go to the child. So I can use the angle brace and I can go to div. So after that div, then under that div, how many divs are there? So this is a one div. Under that we have one more div. So to go there, again you need to use angle brace of child relation. Then now you will have four one of four. So how you need to filter one of four items? So to filter one of four items, you can use the indexing here. So how you can use the indexing? So you need to write simple one line command. So nth of type. So under that type, you need to mention this braces, and under that you can mention one. Now you can see it is saying that under a div of four items, select the first item which is of nth of type 1. So this is how you can filter when you have more than one locators identifying in the DOM. So this is the one, and after that the following one is input. So you can use input. Now you can see one of one. So this is also one approach of parent-child relation with combination of indexing. So you can use this approach in your CSS selectors. So this is the one. Now for the last time of execution, I will use this driver find element by dot CSS selector, and this I will provide this value and send keys. Under that send keys, I can type anything and right click and run. Now, similarly, other approaches have worked, right? So this will also do the same thing, right? It has found. So till now we have discussed different approaches, different methods. So let me reiterate what we have discussed. So we have discussed CSS selector with ID approach. Under that we have two approaches. One is hash, one is having square braces ID equal to value. Then if ID is not working, we can go to class, and class can be used with the dot operator, or you can use the generic approach of say selector called input and square braces values. And then you will find some more difficulty of doing these two things. Then you can go for combinations, where you can use combination of ID and the class, or you can use combination of ID with the different attribute names. So both can be used. And if you're still facing issue, you can go for the string with starting and ending and contains text. So you can use all these approaches. And the final one is a parent-child relations. When you have more attributes which is getting difficulty, then you can use the indexing in the parent-child relation. So these are all we can do with by going into the DOM and typing there and finding it. And few people may ask, like, sir, I have difficulty in doing all these things manually. So what I can find better, or is there any plugin or a tool that I can use? So there is a one of the best tool which is called a Selectors Hub. So I personally use that tool for my automation stuff. You can still use that same thing. So how I can find? So I will leave the description. I will leave the comment with the link of Selectors Hub. You can find from the description box, and I have installed it. So you can see here it is installed here. And now I can go to this area where I have styles computed and property. I can go to the more and select the Selectors Hub. Let me close this bottom one and let me pull this to up. Now you can see wherever I inspect. So I have inspected here. It is showing the input value called sysselector, which is called hash email. So this will work for sure. So you can copy that, or you can go and copy here and you can remove all this and you can get. So it is also working. So ID, you don't want ID, then you need another one. So you can see here, it is showing the placeholder as image. So placeholder with email address and phone number. You can still use them. So you can use it and still it is identifying one of one. Even you don't want a class, then you have again it is showing as placeholders. So let me use only text. I think for everything it is showing placeholders. So if there is a no placeholder, then it is a one of the unique item in the entire node. So that is the reason it is taking as placeholder as the attribute name. So this is how you can find with a tool called Selector Sub. You can still try more approaches. It is showing the more approaches here. You can still give a try and filter out one by one. And in case if you have any questions, queries, or issues that you are facing with C selectors, you can do post in my comment section. I think this session is a bit lengthy, but if you practice this more, you will become a master in CSS selectors. And for sure, you will use this for your automation when compared to the other locators because it is easy to build and easy to use. And it is faster than XPath, so that is one more advantage. So I hope this entire session is helpful for you. In case if you are new to my channel, do subscribe to my channel. And if the session is helpful for you, do post a like and share with colleague. Thank you for watching.